Hey everybody, I am so excited today because I got a friend, a what I call you, like almost I want to almost say partner because you were such a pivotal part of my branding, So I would say friend partner, um, Erin Fortin. She's a bi-coastal business owner, I would say master photographer, mom of two, and just a badass. And she's got some really great stories to share today. So welcome, Erin. We're talking about resilience today, and um, I wanted folks to hear your story, but before we jump in, like tell us a little bit more about your background. You have a fascinating background, right? You're a scientist. Was it
Mhm.
biologist or chemist? I can't remember.
Materials chem,
Okay.
PhD in chemistry.
Wow. And then you started your career out at Intel, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes. After I got my degree in chemistry, I worked at Intel for 5 years as a robot engineer.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we have basically a robot scientist. Like, we got a rocket scientist basically right here at the
No, no,
podcast.
no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Well, you say that now because you made maybe it's because made such a big pivot. So tell people really quick about this pivot you made because it's not every day you hear about like a brainy scientist who just says one day, I'm going to be an artist, right? So tell us a little bit about that part.
Of course, of course. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I'm a PhD chemist. I was
Yep.
working at Intel as an engineer for 5 years, and one day I was sitting at my robot, just telling it what to do when I like sat back and pushed my laptop away from myself and was like, I gotta go. I gotta go.
Mm,
And I walked up to my boss and I said, I'm gonna go. I'm happy to stay to, hire my replacement, but I really love working with people way more than robots. And the rest has been history. That was in 2018, baby. It's been 8 years almost.
but also not that long ago. At least for me. At least for me.
Yeah.
Okay. But then again, I'm also the person who thinks the 90s was like, 10 years ago.
Yesterday.
So,
Yeah,
right.
for
Yeah.
real. Oh,
Yeah.
girl.
So, yeah, when people come out and say like, "Oh yeah, I was born in 2004." I'm like, "What are you, 2?" And then it's like, "Oh, wait, no, you're almost legal to drink." So,
Like,
like, yeah.
we can have a glass of wine at the
Yeah.
bar.
Like it's crazy. Yeah. But so, okay, I almost hear like maybe was there a spark of burnout? Because for someone to,
Oh, yeah.
have been successful doing awesome things, I mean, I can only imagine that you were on a pretty steady career up. I mean, like, you right? I mean,
Yeah, Intel is a great company to work for with excellent benefits and brilliant people, and those are all things that are really attractive to high functioning people like you and I. But
yeah.
the truth is that as an engineer at Intel, you're on call 24/7, which means that you are responsible for your robots and your systems
Mhm.
24/7. And that on call lifestyle just was not working in alignment with my own family values and priorities. And I wanted
Yeah.
my time back. And my advisor in grad school, Doug Jin, was a huge mentor and kind of North Star for me. And he said something really wise once that
Mhm.
is honestly a life motto for me. It's that you can always make more money, but you can never make more time.
Yes. I love that.
And so I knew that I wanted my time back, and I was doing photography on the side as a sweet little side hustle, as just a creative way to flex my right side of the brain,
Yeah.
while I was in grad school and while I was at Intel. But when I knew I wanted to leave Intel and pursue photography full time, I trusted deep within both the wonderful counsel I have outside of my own experience, but also I trusted myself to figure out the business side of things. Like,
Yeah.
if I could figure out how to do anything, I can figure out how to grow a business, is what my kind of naive, but also fearless, courageous mindset was 10 years ago.
Well,
And I
As
did.
yeah, and I actually that resonates with me in terms of what I know about you, right? And
Hmm.
also just what I know about a lot of women who are fearless. It's that belief in yourself.
Yeah.
And also having worked with you, I would say you do the business thing well, you know.
Thank
And this wasn't necessarily the direction I wanted to go into, but I felt like as we started talking, I was like, I think it's important for people to know a little bit about you and your
hmm
background to kind of place you in a context to understand the story that you're going to share today. So we're really going to be talking about resilience, and the reason why I wanted to bring up resilience is a couple reasons. One, it's near and dear to my heart because it's something I studied myself in graduate school. In fact, there's a paper out there. It's not my current name that's on there. It was, when I was in grad school with my original
Mhm.
name. But if there's any one thing that I can put my hat on, from grad school, it's like I have a paper out there that was published and has my name on it. But one thing that we talked about in that paper was how so the paper itself was about global mindset. Can you develop a mindset where you can see beyond cultural differences? Can you be adaptable when in new situations? And can you replicate that without having to go overseas? And one of the things that we found was that what's key to developing this mindset is you needed resilience. And for us at the time, resilience had a very, and, of course, in psychology, the technical definition of a word is very different than how we use it from day to day. So I think that's why I wanted to bring up resilience because when we studied resilience, resilience was this idea of being able to, um, again, like the colloquial meaning, the definition is like you being able to bounce back. But from the technical side, there's some very specific things that make you more or less likely to be able to bounce back, which is how you process, how you frame
Mhm.
a past experience, being actually very intentionally reflective on what you learn and what you gather from it,
Really.
being able to have the ability to uh, be having the agency to say, I can do better, I can learn, I can get over something. So there's some very proactive components when you study that as a subject topic. Now, in day to day, I think people use that word a little more loosely, like many other concepts. And the way that I've been hearing people say it is um, sometimes I'll just say it bothers me because people say, "Oh, you just got to be more resilient, or you have to learn to be resilient." And while that sounds good, I think it says nothing, right?
Mhm.
So when you tell someone you just got to be resilient, okay, what does that mean?
That's like telling someone who's stressed out, "Well, it's okay, just take a deep breath, don't be stressed." Like, "Oh, I should have thought to not be stressed, and all of a sudden I'm not stressed." Like, that's not how resilience
Exactly.
is. It's a superpower. Resilience is a trait you have to foster and work hard at.
Exactly. And what people don't understand is that resilience builds on itself. So when someone is hurting and maybe they're not bouncing back as well and you tell them you're just not, you got to build more resilience. It's like that's not helpful because resilience starts with feeling like a victim in a way. It comes from a place of feeling like a victim, but then you have the agency to say I no longer want to be this way, right? I want
Mhm,
to be in a place where I can own this experience and I can learn from it. And
mhm.
despite what pain or challenges it brought me, I can still come out strong, stronger. So in some ways, I think I love that people are pushing resilience. I just don't like the way they're going about it because I think people don't really understand what it all takes for someone to be resilient. And so when I thought about the idea of resilience, I was like, I mean, Erin, you just came to mind. You'd been very transparent in leading, your community along with your medical journey this past. Was it already last year? Or was it this year? I can.
Almost. Yeah, it's been a year,
Um,
almost a year.
see,
November 6th will be the 1-year anniversary.
oh my God, see how fast time goes. I'm like, to me, it was like it happened just this year, but
I
it's
know.
been about a year. So, tell us what happened. I know you've been through all the details and stuff, and people can look at your social for the deep dives. But tell
Yeah.
folks what happened last year. What was this big thing that really called you to have to like reach into that resilience muscle?
Mm. Well, on 7/26, so July 26th, I was out for a run with my husband Wheeze, and I
Mm,
suffered a stroke.
wow.
Everything went black. I was mid-stride, I was mid-sentence, and everything went black, and I reached for Wheeze, and I said, "I can't see anything." He thought at first I saw a deer or a bear because
Mm,
we're trail running, and he had to carry me home, and that's when the nausea, vomiting, and confusion set in, and when I started not making any sense, that's when Wheeze knew he had to take me to the ER, and that's when they confirmed that I had suffered a stroke. At the time when I had the stroke, I lost 100% of my vision. And you can imagine, as a mother of two, as a
My
human
God.
being, and as a
Yeah.
photographer, as my profession, losing my vision was terrifying, to say the
Yeah.
least. I remember a moment in the hospital. I was getting a small sliver of vision back, and I could
Mhm.
just barely make out a little bit of vision. And I remember looking at Wheeze and crying and thinking, what if I can't ever see his face again? And so the concept of losing the ability to drive, to lose my
Mm.
business, all of that didn't even cross my mind because I was living in, oh my God, my love of my life, I can't see you anymore. And that was in July. And what the miracle of it all was is that the stroke, why does a 37-year-old marathon running, healthy, non-smoking
Yeah.
woman suffer a stroke at such a young age? It led doctors to identify that I was born with a congenital heart defect. I had a giant hole in my heart, and I underwent two
And nobody
heart
knew up
procedures,
until
and no
then.
one knew. No one
Wow.
knew. And because the hole was so large that no pediatrician or doctor since even heard a murmur because the hole was just so huge.
Oh,
And I was walking around like a stroke risk my whole life through pregnancies and miscarriages and IVF and everything. It's a miracle that I was so lucky to have the type of stroke I had when I had it, 5 minutes from home with my husband. It, I was really, really lucky. I was just really lucky. And anywho, it
God.
culminates in the doctors decided they needed to close the hole in my heart. They said, Erin, you have two options. You can either live with this hole in your heart and take
Mhm.
medication for the rest of your life, hoping to not have another stroke, but we can't guarantee that you won't. 20% of stroke patients suffer a secondary stroke.
Mm.
So the risk is very high. And then you could also develop hypertension and die of hypertension as you age,
Yeah.
or we could close the hole while you're young and healthy. And it was a no-brainer. I said, of course, let's close this hole. And unfortunately they couldn't do it via catheterization, so I underwent on November 6th open heart surgery.
Wow. Wow. I listened to your story. I mean, it was one thing to like read about it online. Of course, I
Mhm.
think, everyone around you was worried. I was looking, I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? But hearing you
Yeah.
talk about it, like I'm almost in tears because what it says to me is that in that moment, the things that we think are important, you didn't even think about them,
They don't matter.
right? It
Man,
was
that's the one thing about
yeah,
trauma. When you go through a life-threatening situation and you're laying in an MRI thinking, am I am I dying of a stroke? Am I gonna make it out of this MRI machine? Like, nothing matters. Literally nothing. The nonsense at work, the stress from a project that your kids are bringing home from school that you're not ready to do. They're coming up with their Halloween costume. None of
yeah,
that matters.
yeah. Yeah, and the beautiful thing that you recalled was that you're thinking that you won't be able to see the love of your life anymore. You won't be able to see your daughters. That that's what I'm hoping people will understand too as they're hustling and grinding and building the thing they want is that at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like even your passions don't matter, right? If you don't really have the things that really keep your soul alive. I mean, sometimes your passion too, but in that moment, you weren't even thinking about, oh my gosh, I can't take photos. It was like, what about my family? What about the people I care about?
I think the thing that really hit me like a lightning bolt is that I got instantaneous, and I think anyone who has suffered trauma
Mm,
or grief in their life, and we're all walking around with grief, we've all suffered grief in various forms, is I was hit like a lightning bolt. And
mm.
it became very clear to me what my priorities are in my life, my family, my health, and to not wait. Don't wait to do the things you want to do. Don't wait to chase after that big, lofty, audacious goal and dream. Don't wait to travel and love on your kids and spend that money. Girl, you will make more money. You can never get more time. We don't know when we're going to go. We don't get a
Yeah.
vote when we go and how we go. So
Yeah.
that perspective drives every decision I will ever make
Yeah.
forever.
So I'm curious, were there things before this incident that you kind of held yourself back on? And now since then you're like, oh, I'm going to go for it.
I think it gives me a lot more agency now. I think I've
Yeah.
always been a glass half full, forever optimist, spontaneous personality. But I'll tell you one thing, like, I don't even need the wind to blow just a little bit for me to be like, hey, let's buy those plane tickets to Iceland. Like my
Yeah,
sister, she
yeah.
said, Erin, when you survive your open heart, when you get recovered enough where you feel like you can travel again, you just name the time and name the place. And girl, I'm there with you. And I called my sister on a random Tuesday in January and I said, hey, what are you doing in 2 weeks? You want to go to Iceland? And she says, done, book the tickets. So that's now it's, now it's now we're just having fun.
That's awesome. And in some ways, I think we were just chatting about this. Like, that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, of owning your business, is that
Mhm.
you not only have the mental agency, but you have physical agency, right? Like back when we worked in corporate, it's like, yeah, your mind can go wherever you want. Like no one can control what you think and how you respond to things. But you could imagine yourself in Fiji, but you're still stuck in the office,
Yeah.
right? But now it's
Don't
like,
wait. Don't wait to do the things you want to do. Go do them.
yeah, exactly. I love that. So the surgery went well. You're here.
Yeah.
You're
Whew.
glowing. You're beautiful. You look like, not unscathed in a way.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure there's more to your story than just, like, hey, I'm well now and I
Yeah.
look good. So
Oh yeah.
what are some things that you're taking away? Like how are you seeing life differently? And when you were like in that moment, again, like I keep going back to what you said about how all the stuff about business, photography, whatever, like you didn't even think about that. So now that you're back in, you're in full swing, your books are full. Like how are you viewing things? How has it made you um like you said, you've become more agentic. So tell us
Mhm.
how. Yeah.
Mm. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. So when I had the stroke, I'm sitting in the hospital and I'm hyper aware of the fact that I literally cannot do anything. It took me a couple of hours to realize that I would need to start to delegate, to start to leverage the systems I have worked for 10 years to build
Mm,
in in the success of EFP. I had shoots planned, family mini sessions planned in New York City. I offer family mini sessions in Central Park every month, and I had a whole host of them set for the following day. And I remember realizing I need another one of me to be able to do this. And I was like, no, there's
yeah.
just me. So that's when I realized the power of delegation.
Yeah.
But as soon as I knew that my health journey was going to prioritize the second half of 2024, that's when I just was so grateful for the systems I had built and had in place. So, for instance, I have automated workflows for all of my email
Mm.
marketing. I have automations in place for my social media. I have a virtual assistant. I have editing teams. And I have a team of associate photographers at the time, in Portland, Oregon. I still have my Portland, Oregon team. But since coming back post medical leave, back into EFP, I have not only just come back after taking 6 months
Mhm.
medical leave, I have grown. I've come out stronger. Physically, I've come out stronger. Mentally, I'm more resilient. And the business has come out better. I'm constantly, month after month, kind of having record breaking quarters for EFP. And I've also hired another photographer to now serve New York
Mm.
City full time for me. And all of that just has given me agency of like the real power of delegation. I think we start businesses because we love doing it. We love the
Mhm.
specific service we provide. Um, but I think the best leaders are ones who hire people who are smarter than them
Yes.
and get out of their way.
Yes,
And that's what I'm trying to
absolutely.
build at EFP.
And that's awesome because in some ways you're like the living testament to what I teach about leadership, which is
Mm,
that, right? Like, especially as a business owner, like you're definitely, you've had definitely more time and you can build this team. But I think for a lot of women that I've come across, they're newer or in their beginning phases, but then they're just at the cusp, but they're like, I'm kind of overwhelmed by certain tasks, so I may need someone to help. But they don't say this, but I get the sense that they also don't trust anybody to do it, and
mm.
so then they've kind of basically trapped themselves in this forever loop of I got to
Cycle
do
of
this
having to do everything
thing.
themselves.
And because they're doing themselves, they're probably not doing it well or doing it perfectly, which then means that they need to which then is almost social proof to them that, hey, if I can't do it perfectly, that means other people can't either. They're going to do it even
Mhm.
worse. Right. So, and I love that you're, in some ways, you're taking a more of a leadership stance. Like that's what I'm
Oh, yeah.
hearing as a lesson from, how you've become resilient is that you've come out not saying, I need to control everything, but
Mhm.
it's, I need to actually, like, I'm appreciating the system I created that allows me the freedom or
Mhm.
autonomy or just space when I need it. And then you came out saying, I'm going to do more of that instead of trying to take on more control.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
so, I mean, I'm so curious though, because you said, okay, since you've been back, things have been better than ever. Right.
Mhm. Do you
And
wanna know a fun little metric? Now,
absolutely.
I recognize that revenue and, number of bookings and the money coming in the bank is not what I personally value and prioritize in the growth of EFP, but I think it's an easy way as a business owner to business owner to
Sure.
be able to understand the gravity and the impact of success. And for me, in I took medical leave through January of this year, and I came through January, and I came back to photo shoots again and to my
Hmm.
inbox in February. Well, the biggest month for EFP in terms of deposits and revenue was January. I had a record breaking January, and that is because I wasn't working. It was because I have such a deeply loyal list of clients and community who said, Erin, I know you're on medical leave. Don't even respond to this email, but I want to be front of mind. I want to be first on your list. I want to support your business while you're on medical leave and have bills to pay, even though you can't work right now as you are recovering from open heart surgery. And here's a deposit to a photo shoot in Q2.
Yeah.
And it was so humbling to have that kind of support.
But also so beautiful. Like
Mhm.
in many ways, you could teach a master class on how to build a business through relationship and community,
Mhm.
because I could say like,
Thank you.
we had a kind of a conversation about this. I mean, you were my photographer, and actually twice you were my
Mhm.
photographer for
Yeah, we
my
did your
brand
personal
is
brand session twice in Portland.
yeah. And I can't imagine anybody else doing it, not necessarily because I think that there's no other, talented people out there, but because part of it is that I really enjoyed our process. It's like
Mhm.
once you find a really good hairstylist, not that you're a hairstylist,
Yeah.
but
That's a good example. Once you
yeah,
find someone who works really well with you and has a
yeah,
good relationship and is good for it. Like, are you good for it? Like, Erin, can you be good for it? Can I trust that you're going to show up on set and treat our clients with like high level of respect and dignity? Are you going to treat
yeah,
our product with respect, and are you going to be an excellent communicator, and then of course deliver good photos? Like the
yeah,
photography and delivering a great looking set of photos in a gallery is a small part of the investment that folks make in Erin Fortin photography, but the bigger investment, like what you're so generously complimenting me on, is the customer service and is the
yeah,
relationship that we build and the knowledge and the studying I do of who Wendy is and who her
yeah.
brand is, so that I can translate that authentically in beautiful brand photos.
Yes, and your photos are beautiful. I remember when I was just starting out, I was working with, my old grad school friend, Nicole Steen. She goes by Nico now, I think. And so she
Oh
did my
yeah, I
brand.
love
Yeah, yeah,
Nico.
yeah. So she did like my colors and everything. So when I showed, because I was, I think there were like two or three people I was considering at the time. You had come through as a referral. I forgot who referred you. Oh, maybe it was like somebody else whose books were busy. And then she said, oh, go check out Erin. I was like, oh, okay. So I sent like basically three different portfolios to Nico. And I was like, I think she's going to say Erin. And then Nico came out. She
Aw.
was like, oh, this is not even a comparison. She was like, yeah, you're gonna go with Erin. And so and Nico since then has come back and she's like, Erin is so good. And like even beyond just the raw talent, I think what makes you so good is, again, I think people want to have their story seen. And I think you have the ability to do that. The reason why I really enjoy working with Nico is because as a brand designer, she really knows me. Like she
Mhm.
takes the time to know me so that when I tell her next time about an idea, she's not having to start from scratch trying to understand what I'm talking about. She already has a base understanding. Just like I could come to you now with a very different direction for set of brand photos, but you still have a base understanding of who I am, what I'm about. So you
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of get it. You know what I mean? Even if I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, I want to do something completely different. It's going to be more of this." But like I would trust and I would trust that you get it. That's the thing. And I think what a lot of us women entrepreneurs, the ones who are starting out, the ones I'm speaking about now, or who are starting out, we get a lot of confusing messages about what it takes to connect with people.
Mhm.
And and I say confusing because there's a lot of voices out there that say, "Oh, you got to create relationships," but the way they talk about it still sound very transactional. And then there's the other camp of people who say, um, revenue's still king. That is your metric. So it creates this confusion of like are we cold? Are we just revenue driven, or
No way.
how much do we build those relationships? Are we their friends? I think especially for a lot of women who tend to want to be nice and they think, oh, building a relationship means that I have to be their friend and that means I have to not have boundaries, which that isn't advertently what it translates to, right? So
Yeah,
I think that's what
Wendy.
right?
That's so good. Here's the thing. Clear is kind, right? And
Yeah.
I think that authenticity as a human being also serves you really well in business. When you have authenticity in business, that fosters trust. When you have trust, you have
Yeah.
a good relationship. When you have a good working relationship, you can deliver an exceptional service or experience, right?
Mhm.
I think that that should not be confused whatsoever. Being authentic is not the same as divulging too much information and being overly generous with your own personal time and your boundaries. I think that's
Mhm.
something that I navigated very strategically when I did have my stroke. I knew
Mm.
that I am the face of Erin Fortin photography. I work hand in hand with all my clients, whether it's in New York City, Portland, Oregon, or upstate New York, where I physically live. And this is where our headquarters are. I know that people care about me because I've grown EFP to be an
Mhm.
authentic personal service based business. But I also know that I wasn't going to divulge every single detail of I literally am in the hospital. I just had a stroke. I'm not an influencer. I'm not needing to influence
Yeah.
people on photos. Like that's not like my world. I don't need to keep in a day-to-day up to date happenings of my life. I have a really clear boundary
Mhm.
as to I as to what I share publicly is very intentional because I
Mhm.
have a boundary. There are certain things that I don't talk about online. There are certain things I
Yeah.
won't show online. And that doesn't mean that I'm not an authentic person. I'm deeply authentic. You know exactly who you're going to get when I show up on set in
Yeah.
photography. I'm very authentic about my joy and passions about brand photography and my clients' success.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you're never going to see a photo of my kiddos' faces online. Like I protect my own
Same.
family's privacy, right?
Yeah.
And I
Same.
wasn't going to talk about certain things about my stroke or my open heart surgery because I wanted folks to feel safe. I wanted them to come along with me and go through the experience with me. But I also know that I didn't need to share too much of that information at the same time.
Right. And I think you found that balance like just really gracefully, right? Because I
Thank
think
you.
a lot of us did feel like we were brought along the journey and just your level of optimism, like you said, you're a very optimistic person, but just so that like really shone through. I mean, all I could see was just my own reaction, really, right? Which was I would be so scared because I mean, in some ways, I coach on that moment. Like you weren't on your deathbed, but there probably was a moment when you felt like, "Is this it?" Right?
Yeah.
And one of the things I ask people is, in that moment when you think or you know that this is it, are you happy with what you've done in your life?
Mhm.
Or do you think, man, so much wasted time? Right?
Oh,
Like that's up to us, right? Like if we have that moment where we're reflecting, we're like, man, why I've been wasting my time on things that don't really matter to me. It's like, okay, now you have a second chance. Now this is the
mhm.
universe saying, all right, you can have a clean slate. You can do things new. Um, and to your point about authenticity, I've been thinking about this recently, and it's like really timely because, well, I won't I won't talk about it too much because it's a whole other topic, but I've been thinking about this too, about authenticity and how you show up online, right? And because
Mhm,
there are people who, oh gosh, there's some influencers, I look at the content, I'm like, this is exhausting just watching this. Like you're
mm.
showing your your IVF process, your home purchase process, how you're designing the house, your whole and I'm like, your pregnancy, everything. I'm like, like this feels like a part-time job or a full-time job. Just think about documenting your life online, right?
Mhm. Well,
So,
it is their full-time job. I mean, there's so much value and power to influencer culture and the profession that is being an influencer. I think I mean, my 2 cents is the most successful influencers, I think, are ones who probably have excellent boundary over what they are
mm,
influencing, knowing what their brand is,
yeah,
knowing what they're willing to share, but more importantly, knowing what they're not willing to share. And
yeah,
having a boundary is just chef kisses. Knowing what your boundary is, knowing what you will share, and being really good at your job and really good at influencing or really good at being
hmm,
authentic in that lane, while also guarding what's most precious to you and keeping a healthy boundary. It's okay to have boundaries. You should have boundaries.
yeah. Do you feel like your boundaries changed after having the stroke and the surgery?
Hmm. No, I don't. I've always been a really like upfront and I do love to share about my personal life and I don't know. I think the long and short of it is no. I just realized that I'm not the only person who's ever suffered a stroke and I'm
Hmm.
not the only person who's ever had open heart surgery. But what I realized is that my community at EFP and friends and followers, I'm probably one of the first ones that they've seen similar in their life. They're business owners, they're parents, they're athletes, they're young, they're healthy.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, Erin just had a stroke. That makes me reflect on my own health and priorities.
Yeah.
And so I realized that it's important for me to share my story because I hope other people come away with the same perspective, but not having had gone through the trauma themselves.
Yeah. It's and it does also take, like you said, like this level of optimism, this glass half full perspective. Because as you're saying that, I'm remembering a story from a friend who's been trying to convince a family member to quit smoking. And that family member said, well, see, so and so person lived to 100, whatever, and they smoked, or this person, was healthy, worked out all the time, and they still got cancer. And to me, that's such a funny argument because I think of it as, well, don't you wanna lower your risk any way possible,
Yes.
right? Because the whole point is that these are, like, these diseases and whatever, they're not discriminant of who you are. Yeah, healthy people get cancer too, which means that the more you can do to lower your risk, the better, right? It's not,
I
"Oh, okay."
saved my own life. I am certain that I saved my life by being a non-smoker, running, healthy person my whole life for the 3.5 decades leading up to that stroke. I was going to have that stroke. I had a hole in my heart. It was a walking time bomb. But the fact that I've never smoked and that I've been a runner and I've been healthy forever means that I had a fighting chance at survival. I had a
Mhm,
fighting chance to live. And so that's why my health is such a priority. Getting back to running again was such a priority for me
mhm.
because I'm not going to take this gift of a second chance for granted. So any day that I'm feeling a little lazy and wanting to sleep in, or hey, I just got to
Yeah,
keep working a little bit longer. No, Erin, you will get your butt off the chair and go for a walk, go for a run.
mhm.
We only have this one time here.
We
Like, there's
do.
nothing more important than our health.
It's so true, and I love that you made it a non-negotiable, and, I had a conversation with someone yesterday who, she shared with me that she was struggling a little bit with the movement piece because she's not finding joy in it, and also she's, I think, all, but then later on in the conversation, she revealed that she also feels guilty by not spending the extra time in her business because it's
Yep.
not yet,
Everything is a choice.
right? And it's kind of interesting because for some reason we've been told that investing in ourselves is frivolous, right? That it's vain, it's a vanity thing. It's like, I think in the past people would have said, "Oh, why do you want to go running? Do you want to stay skinny?" Or why do you want to keep eating this way? Why do you want to
Oh.
do this? It's like, right? Like it's all
I
about,
can chase after my grandkids
right?
and not die of a catastrophic stroke at a young age. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because
not vain.
right. I mean, I actually, being in a physique sport, I would say I'm okay with a vanity reason, but there
Oh,
is
yeah.
so much more than just vanity,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, you know, I, interesting thing about my prep right now, I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but um, is that, it changes your hormones. It kind of
Mm,
changes your body a little bit, and sometimes it doesn't always change your hormones for the better, but I think it did for me, at least so far, because when I started, I was holding on to more body fat than I think what was ideal for my frame. And
mhm.
so as I've been, going through this process and leaning down, I think my body's changing, the hormones are changing. And in some ways where I should be feeling like crap right now, I don't,
Mm.
I feel like, I mean,
Yay,
yeah,
we love feeling good.
yeah. I mean, yeah, sure, there's like lack of power stuff, but part of it is also to say like, yeah, there's so much that moving our body fuels us. And then in a way,
Mhm.
I tell women like, if you want to do well in business, you got to take care of yourself first. And so this
Yes.
idea of like, oh no, I don't want to work out because it's going to take time away from me building my business. It's like, well, I mean, you can do that till you're,
Mhm.
I don't know, withered away, but it's not going to help you. Like you're going to have a beautiful business and then you are
Yeah.
bedridden, you know?
Mhm.
So I love that you're talking about working out and fitness being a non-negotiable because I think that's the only way to really make it stick is to say that this is something I will do, not
Mm.
something I have to do or something I do if I have time.
Yeah. Don't negotiate with yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah,
If you
absolutely.
decide you're gonna do it, do it. Be about it. Don't just talk about it, be about it.
I know. Oh my gosh, there's just so much to be said about that. The agency piece of like, oh, I'll do it next year. Oh, I'll do this and that. Or the people who are right now, I mean, right now we're kind of towards the end of October, who are saying, come January 1st, my 2026 resolution, I'll do that. Right.
No, be about it now, man.
It's
Get
like, why?
after it.
It's like, why not now? Like, why not now?
Do it.
Right. Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny because I had a conversation with my coach recently. So because I was telling her that I was struggling a little bit mentally around food because you do become
Mm.
food obsessed during this process. And uh, looking back, I can be amused by it. So I was watching videos of people stuffing themselves with cake. Um, I don't even like
Okay.
I don't even like cake. Okay. I used to be the person to make like I used to make fun of these videos. I'm like, who would want to be first of all, an eating influencer, and who the heck is watching these? Well, clearly, I'm one of those people who ended
Yeah.
up watching people
Got
eat
your
cake.
attention.
Yeah, eat cake, and I was just obsessed with watching people eat decadent food. And my coach said, "Just cut it out." She's like, "It's not good for you. Like, it's gonna mess up your mindset." And
Yeah.
so, and I think, and this is not to brag, I think a lot of people would have said, okay, I'll slow down on it. I'll just maybe limit myself to 10 minutes of it a day or whatever. But my coach said, stop it. So I said, okay, it's done. I'm
Cut
not
it
looking
out.
at, I'm not looking at it anymore.
Make
That's
that
it.
decision, close that chapter.
Yeah. And it's done.
Done.
And it kind of makes me think to your story, like, because you said that, like, don't wait for, to do things, just do the thing that you want to do. I think people oftentimes wait. I don't know what they're waiting for, but it's this like, or they want to taper into a decision. Like, I don't want to make the
Mhm.
decision yet, but maybe we can be halfway. Maybe we can slowly wean ourselves off of this thing and then slowly transition to another. And I'm always thinking, but why not just do it?
Mhm. Rip that Band-Aid off. Just
Yeah,
rip it
I don't
off.
know.
Make that choice.
Maybe you and I just think differently in this. I'm just like, just do it. Why not just do it? I don't know,
Yes.
but in the past I've been told like, yeah, you can't just say that to people because not everyone can just do it. And I don't know. I still struggle with that sometimes. I don't know. It's
You.
if yeah, I do. Just because I'm like, I don't get it, but I know I do have to exercise that empathy because as a coach, I know that not everyone is at that place where they have the agency to do that. You know,
Mhm.
I think part of it
That's
has
true.
to be built. So The audience I talk to, the audience I work with are women entrepreneurs, business women, women like us.
Yeah.
And depending on where they are in their journey, I think a lot of them they're always, right? They're always pouring their heart in everything, whether it's their business, the community, family, whatever. And they are the last, always on the list. Very few women
Mhm.
I've met have actually put themselves in the top three. So, um,
Mm.
but then they wonder, why they burn out, why they don't bounce back as quickly. Um, and they struggle with boundaries. That's what I see a lot. So you're somebody who's held really strong boundaries. You've done really well in your business. Um,
Mm.
and what's interesting is you said you don't take some of the traditional metrics as metrics of success for you.
No way,
So
man. Yeah.
so in your Erin Fortin masterclass on how to do business, like what's your what yeah, what insights or what like nuggets of gold do you have for other women who are kind of in the space where they're just struggling. Struggling not for anything particular, but just the constant needing to build a business, needing to do that, needing to do that. And that's always on your mind and feeling like, when am I going to get out of this spiral?
Yes. Well, first things first, I would say, what are your three priorities in life? Like, what do
Mm,
you want to focus on to take care of, right? Like, for me, it's my health, it's my family, and it's to not wait. Those priorities inspire my clarity for both my personal life and my business. Okay. So when I'm running my business, I want the business to be healthy. That means I don't want to be overworked. It also means that I want to be able to treat my clients really, really well and to have a healthy relationship with all of my teammates, with my clients alike. With my interaction with social media and marketing, I want
mhm.
that to be healthy, right? And to also, then the other priority is to not wait, right? Like
Yeah.
I am of the mindset, and I will die on the hill, that done is better than perfect. I am
Mm,
not about to spend forever crafting and perfecting some perfect marketing campaign to launch some set of some to launch some new sector of my business. Like, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it done, and I will
yeah.
work on it along the way. Done
Mhm.
is better than perfect. And to delegate, don't take everything on yourself. You can't be both healthy in your mindset and in your physical and in your personal life and in your work if you are literally trying to do everything. You can't do everything yourself. So it's best
Mhm.
to hire smart people and get out of their way. Or if you are not in a position in your business to start hiring people, start with contract hires, right?
Yeah.
1099 is a win win for everyone involved, because then you can pay them as much as you are willing to be able to pay them, and they will work for you as much as they're willing to work for you, and it's open ended.
Yeah.
There's no obligation.
Mhm.
And yeah, don't take yourself so seriously. We're all just like out here. Like, a brand is such a beautiful thing because you can create your personal brand, you can create your
Mhm.
business's brand to be whatever you want it to be. But that's why you shouldn't take it seriously, right? That's why you can be professional and personal, but
Mhm.
like, your brand can rebrand as you go.
Yeah.
Um, just get out there and work on getting things done instead of being perfect.
Yeah. I love this kind of experimental tone to your message. It's like, yeah, just get it done. Right. And then you're also like really cheerful about it, which I love, which is why I say like you gotta have an Erin Fortin masterclass on business for women.
Girl,
Um,
that sounds like podcast episode number 2 with us.
yes, yes, absolutely. And the
I
thing
will
about
share how I grew EFP as someone who has no formal training whatsoever in business or photography into now a multi-brand bi-coastal photo
girl,
business.
right there. That was the pitch. That was right there. That's awesome. No, I do need to bring you back on. So I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, I mean, this is
It's so fun.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
it's
what I love about you, Wendy, and
okay.
your brand is that it is so intentional. You
Oh,
showed
thank
up
you.
to our very first photo shoot together all those years ago
Yeah.
with such clarity and intent. Like, you knew what your brand messaging was, you knew what your brand strategy was, you knew what your brand is, not just your logo and your colors. Of course, those are very distinct to who you are
Yeah.
and who this podcast is, but it also is the energy you bring to the table, to the
Mm,
conversation. It's the way you want to be perceived. All of that is intentional and strategic. And I've loved partnering with you. At the very beginning of this call, you said, well, who is Erin? She's my friend, but she's also like, she's not just a photographer. You're right. I'm not just your photographer. I'm your brand partner,
Yeah.
right? I
That's why I
am,
say
I tell
partner.
all my
Yeah.
clients, think of me as your brand partner. I am here as a fellow business owner who knows and lives and breathes branding. For myself, but for all of my clients, I have that experience to help make sure that when I show up as your photographer,
Mhm.
I'm making sure your brand looks and feels exactly as you envision it. And
Yeah.
you have had such good clarity
Oh,
in your
thank you.
brand.
That
And say
that that feels reassuring because I have pivoted my, I guess, my focus a little bit since we started. But what's powerful about the work that we've done together is they still feel evergreen because some of the
Mhm.
original intent has stayed the same. Like my focus may be different, but the energy that I want to bring in, which is, feminine power, which is around autonomy and a level of irreverence,
Mhm.
and that all has always been there, and I don't think that's going to go
Oh, yeah.
away.
Oh, yeah, because you are authentic. You are authentic in your, I think that Wendy in her personal life is probably very authentic to Wendy in her business life.
Very much so. And speaking of authenticity, I think it's I wouldn't call it a promise, but it's something I've decided for myself that I was going to start communicating my values more transparently on social media because I don't know about you. I mean, because you've been in business longer than I have, but I've been getting some bad advice this year, and some people have encouraged me to be opportunistic, which I understand
Mhm. Okay.
can get you very successful financially. However, I just feel like I cannot do it if it does not feel like it's me. I cannot do it
Yeah.
if it does not feel like it aligns with what I believe in, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And part of me feels like I don't want to just smile in the face of whatever's happening. Like I need to voice what I think. And so that's going to come out, relatively soon. Like I want to project more than just, oh, here's a coaching tip, but I want to share a little bit more about my life and how I'm thinking about certain issues and how that shapes who I am. And
Mhm.
ultimately, I think, whoever it draws in will just trust me more because I've become transparent about who I am. And if it pushes you away, then that's okay. Cause
And
there's,
they're not for you.
yeah, they're not for me and I'm not for them. And that's okay. There's many coaches out there and there's somebody
Oh,
out
yeah.
there for you, right? There's somebody for
Oh, yeah.
everybody. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So instead of me wanting to, cause again, it was all based on fear. Like, what if I show myself and other people reject me?
Mhm.
And, um, and I had to just kind of decide that, I needed to own my courage and say, it's okay to be rejected.
Yeah.
Like that's okay.
Oh, yeah, you have to get rejected endlessly to learn resilience, to
Yeah.
learn who you are, to learn what you do well and what you don't do well. We can't do everything well, and we can't serve everyone. There are 34 million small businesses in the world. I don't need to serve brand photography for 34 million people. I don't want to serve that much
Yeah.
business, right? So that's why there's real empowerment in being authentic and understanding your message
Yeah,
and living in it and stepping into it publicly.
absolutely. And of course, anyone who's local in Portland and in New York, I would always encourage them to kind of, go see you if they need photography services. But I know
Mhm.
you also offer a traveling option, something I found out recently. So tell folks like
Yeah.
if they're interested in your work and what you do,
Oh,
like what does that look like?
yeah, do EFP, we're a bi-coastal, now we're all over, brand photography business, right? And so for me, I live and breathe brand photography and brand strategy and branding for service-based businesses. It has been very easy and organic for me to grow clients in Portland, Oregon, where I started EFP, and now
Mhm,
in New York, where I live, New York City and upstate. But I have built a community of friends and followers
mhm,
online who are interested in high quality, excellently served brand photography. And that's where I've learned I've stepped into a new era of EFP now that I've recovered medically from my
mhm.
stroke, that I want to travel again. I can travel for work. So in order for me to serve brand photography outside of those two cities, those three cities, it's as easy as flying me in.
Hmm.
And now I know some business owners think, oh my gosh, the travel expense. But I will say that as an investment in your branding, the investment of a day of a rental car and a flight is not that large on top of the expense of the investment you're making in your own brand.
Yeah. And also once you see Erin's work, you'll kind of understand, right?
It's worth
And
it.
yeah, and yes, I would say it's very worth it because, it's not just me loving them, but a lot of people have approached me and said how much they love the photos. And I'm like,
Thank
yeah, I
you.
know. It's my
And
girl.
that's the thing about all things branding and marketing is that it is a write-off for your growing business, right? So it is hard to start a business. It is expensive to start a business. It is
Mhm.
expensive to rebrand a business.
It is.
That said, if your business has already grown and you have become more sustainable in your business. You then start looking for ways to write off some of your taxable income. And that's where investing in your marketing, investing in your branding is not just a really good idea for you to look better and to put your best face forward, but
Mhm.
it's also financially really smart to write off that
Oh,
investment.
absolutely. See, another portion of the EF masterclass is, how to maximize your investments. I love this.
Yes.
So, yeah, tell people where can they find you? What's the best way to get in touch with you or if they just want to observe?
Oh my gosh. Come hang out with me online. I'm really active on Instagram. Erin Fortin Photo is my handle. And you can find my website and inquire about brand photography at erinfortinphotography.com.
Yeah, great. And yeah, even if you don't end up working with her, just follow her journey. And the worst thing that could happen is you enjoy some beautiful photos that she posts. So,
Come be friends on Instagram. We hang out all the time there. We keep it
yes,
real.
yes. Um, so before we end, what is one thing that you can tell people that they can do today? Like after listening to this, they get up off their seat. What's the one thing they can do today to either boost their resilience or really kind of take charge of their agency?
Mhm. Write down the three things that you prioritize the most in your life. Write them
Love it.
down and have crystal clarity. What are the three things that matter the most to you? And make sure that the choices you make follow those priorities.
Love it. Love it. Love it. You took my idea right out of my head, but you said it beautifully. Yeah. Love it.
Wendy,
Okay.
we're two peas in a pod.
I
It's
know.
easy
Yeah,
with
no.
you.
We got to have a part two because there's just so much good
There's
stuff
so
here.
much business that can be chatted.
Oh, yes. Well, Erin, thank you so much. Thanks, folks, for listening. And check
Thank you
out
for
Erin.
listening.